So the Patriots have a lot of opt-outs. Some pretty big ones too. As of the other day, I believe this is still the case, they have 6, which is 3 times as more as any other team. The next highest teams are all at 2. And then there's a bunch that have 1, but like Patriots with 6 are far and away the most in the league. Biggest one is probably Hightower. Heart and soul of the defense, veteran guy. The linebacking core was already weakened as it is with the loss of Kyle Van Noy and Jamie Collins. I'll get into more of that in a little bit. Other opt-outs include Brandon Bolden, Marcus Cannon, Danny Vitale, Torin the guard, and Patrick Chung. Now, first reaction as a fan, yeah, it sucks. I mean, you want your best players out there on the field, and to hear that they're opting out of the season, that sucks to hear. And it's probably going to impact how the team does on the field. As a fan, you want to see the best product out there. And that's just not going to happen this year because of the state that the world is in. But with that out of the way, I don't know how anyone can blame these players for putting their family first. I have absolutely nothing wrong with the better safe than sorry mentality, especially when there's infants involved. I mean, it's your fucking kids, for crying out loud. You only get one chance with them. I mean, unless you have multiple, but you know what I mean. And I've seen a lot of people say soft, get your ass out there and play. And that just rubs me the wrong way because it's your own family, man. Even if there was a sliver, a tiny bit, a sliver of a chance that something bad might happen to them because of you, wouldn't you take the necessary precautions to prevent that? And I'm not knocking players who aren't doing that, but for the ones that are, I just don't know how you can fault them. I mean, they want to keep their family safe, because there is an alternative where players play, one of them gets COVID, and what if they do pass it to their infant? And what if that has lasting effects? Or what if they fucking die, man? There's some serious implications here. And even if the chances are really low that might happen, I don't have a problem with players making that chance go from low to 0 by opting out. And I don't think it's fair for them to get hate for putting their families first. Also, another thing that's very stupid, in my opinion, is I've seen those players be called selfish. Selfish for abandoning the team and going with their families. And I'm so they're selfish for turning down millions of dollars to play the game of football. Something doesn't add up. So by turning away all that money, that makes you a selfish person. By taking care and doing what's best for your family, that makes you a selfish person. I don't understand that logic. But yeah, I think the deadline is coming up soon. I read somewhere August 5th. I don't know if that's accurate. But they have until that date to opt out. And I'm sure that there's a good amount of players that are still on the fence. And I'm sure that there will be a couple more Patriots who end up opting out. And I wonder if seeing all these guys opt out may influence their decision. Because, if you're on the Patriots and you are kind of on the fence, you're I don't know if I want to opt out. I don't know if I want to play. You're somewhere in the middle. You're kind of teetering there. And you see all of these big names, big important parts of the team opting out. And then you start to look at things a little differently. And you say, okay, these guys have opted out. This is a blow to the team and is probably going to impact their performance. So now, does knowing that the team might be a little worse influence my decision to sit out? I think that's a possibility. And they would never come out and say it. They would never come out and be yeah, I wasn't sure about it, but now that all these guys are sitting out, I'm going to too. They would never say that because they would get a lot of shit for it. But I feel like that plays a factor in the decision, if that makes sense. So now we have to ask ourselves, how does this impact the 2020 Patriots on the field? I would say pretty significantly. The big one is Hightower, not only because of his play on the field, but also his leadership. He was kind of the nucleus of that defense. And now that he's gone, and you look at the other linebackers that we've lost in Van Noy and Jamie Collins, That's a lot to replace, man. I mean, the linebackers alone, with the loss of those three guys, they've lost 47% of the Patriots' 281 quarterback disruptions from last season. So pretty much half of the pass rush, or effective pass rush, is gone. That's a big void to fill. All of a sudden, there's a lot more pressure on Bentley. Younger guys, rookies such as Josh Uche and Anthony Jennings, all of a sudden, we're kind of throwing them into the fire, feeding them to the wolves a little more earlier than expected, or a little earlier than the team would have liked to. But that's just the position that they're in. That's what they're left with. That's what they have to adjust to because of all this bullshit happening. And I like those guys, the guys that they drafted, I mean. Are they ready to just kind of get thrown into the fire like that? I don't know. I mean, we're going to see. We're going to find out. Patrick Chung is an interesting one because he actually didn't really play that well last year. He struggled big time. And he is a veteran guy. He's been in the system for a while. And he's had really good years. But last year was not one of them. He gave up a 70% completion rate when he was in coverage, which is the worst that he's ever had in his career. He also gave up the most yards per target, 7.5, since 2016. So not the best year for Chung. So and I'm not saying that they're losing nothing with him, because they are. But I feel like the secondary should be okay. They still have Devin McCourty. They still have Terrence Brooks. They signed Adrian Phillips in free agency, and they also spent their second-round draft pick on a safety, Kyle Duggar. So I feel like they're pretty well equipped to handle the loss of Chung. I think they should be okay. Marcus Cannon is another interesting one because, similar to Chung, he didn't have the best year last year. He was pretty overpaid. He was on the books for a $9.5 million cap hit, and based on his recent performance, we were overpaying him. And now that he's not there, they can use that money to either fill other holes or to help replace him. So what I'm saying is this may have been a silver lining as far as the offensive line goes. Losing Vital hurts. That hurts the run game, especially since they already lost Devlin because he retired. So losing their backup plan complicates things a little bit more. If we're looking at the bright side here, if we're trying to stay positive, all in all, the 6 players, their money is gone. They're not getting paid if they don't play because, duh. Which means the Patriots have more cap space to work with. They gained about $17.5 million from the opt-outs, which means now they have about $24.5 million to work with. And that's a pretty good chunk of money, especially at this point in the offseason. So they can either use that money to fill some of the needs that they just lost, or, they could save it and kind of let it roll over into next year where God knows what the cap situation is going to look like. With COVID and everything. I've heard a lot of different things. There's nothing set in stone. But it's likely going to be less than, what it's supposed to be. So if they let that money roll over, that could help them out next offseason. And, if they let it roll over, that would give them an advantage over most teams. Because that's just more money that they have to work with that the other teams don't. But yeah, overall, those are my thoughts on the opt-outs, just in general, and what it means for the team next year. What do you guys think? Comment below, let me know. As always, like and subscribe, and yeah.